You are tuning in to Pass the Wine with your host, Alina Evans. This is episode 7, and we are going to sit down with Dr. Donisha Bailey. She is a Cleveland, Ohio native, and let me tell you guys, she is just as sweet as she has educated. She has served in both the charter and public school settings. She's taught grades 2 through 5 and 9 through 12. She has also served as a Dean of Student Life and Management. She is currently an intervention specialist for the Euclid City School District, an adjunct professor at Bryant and Stratton College, a columnist for the East Clevelander, and a member of the National Society of Leadership and Success. She's also the author of the book S.O.S, Saving Our Students. It's a collaborative approach to intervention and the professional development sessions that are needed to assist educators in providing high-quality instruction. Dr. Bailey is passionate about working in her community, saving our students by tailoring to their needs. And she does this through differentiation, small group instruction, collaboration, and professional development. She has a literacy club that is called TLC with Dr. B. So it's the Literacy Club with Dr. Bailey. It's a 10-week program where kids in low-income areas learn how to write and read and speak and just fine-tune those critical thinking skills, and they have a portfolio that they build. So that they're taking away a portfolio where they write essays, poetry, different forms of writing that they can have and take with them for the rest of their education. So without further ado, grab your favorite glass of wine and don't forget to pass the wine, sis.
And I am a mom. My daughter will be 3 in a couple of short weeks. And I have my doctorate in educational leadership, management, and policy. Currently an intervention specialist. So I basically am an educator who works with general education teachers and students with special needs. And throughout the last year during the pandemic, I've been working on a lot of projects that are all under the Saving Our Students movement.
Wow, what an endeavor. That's a big job. So when is your daughter's birthday?
February 8th.
Okay, so my she'll be 3, and hers is on the 16th of February. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and mine is on the 20th. So we have birthdays on the same week.
Nice. Happy early birthday.
Yeah, same to your daughter. That's so cool.
Thank you.
So where are you from, Dr. Bailey?
So I'm from East Cleveland, Ohio. And go Browns. I'll say that first.
Of course.
They had a great season. But yeah, so born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Specifically, I was born and raised in East Cleveland, and now I live in a suburb off of, in Cleveland. So yeah.
Great. And were you born and raised there?
Yes, I was born and raised in East Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yep.
great. Any plans on moving anytime soon, or do you guys think you're there for good?
We'll see what life brings when she's in school. My daughter, gets to kindergarten. We may relocate. The option is always there, but right now we're just going to be still here in Cleveland.
So how would you describe Dr. Bailey?
Very passionate person. So anything that I do, I like to put my all into it. I like to give it my all. I'm truly an educator at heart. I just like to, reach people, teach people, adults, kids, just anyone. And I feel like I'm a lifelong learner. Uh, you know, Even after my doctorate, I just finished my principal program, and I'm awaiting my principal licensure, so I can move to the next stages in my career in administration. But yeah, I'm just very passionate, and I just love to educate people, and I love to learn from people. Yeah, I'm a lifelong learner.
That's great. I say the same about myself. So I'm going back to school to get my master's, and my goal is to get my doctorate. And then I wondered, what am I going to do after my doctorate? It's like I want to be in school forever. I'm a lifelong learner too, and I think we should all be that way.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn and ways for us to grow. Where do you think your passion came from for teaching?
Um, I my mom always my mom taught daycare before when I was younger, and she would always help me. Her and my grandmother, they would help me with my assignments from school, and they would, my mom would think of little songs to help me remember things like mnemonic devices, basically. But back then, we didn't know they were mnemonic devices. I just knew that it was fun, a fun way for me to learn things, and then I started working at a daycare. So, a young lady by the name of Paula Stewart, she is actually doing some pretty great things. You can look her up too, ministerpaulastewart.com. Um, she, called me. She knew I just had obtained my bachelor's from Case, and I wanted to originally be an attorney, and then I changed my mind right before graduation. And she was talking to me. She heard me say something about I wanted to be like a teacher, possibly. So there was a daycare position open. And from there, I just knew that's what I wanted to do, which led me to get my master's in special education from Notre Dame. So and then 2 weeks after that, I was starting my doctorate program. People were like, "You're insane," and I'm like, "I know, but it's okay."
That's the best way to do it, in my opinion, is just to
Yeah.
go straight through. Don't take any breaks, because it's harder to jump back in, I think, and to get back into the routine of going to school. So you were smart by doing that. Now, jumping from an attorney to education, that's a big difference. So what made you want to be an attorney in the first place?
So in high school, we Shaw High School, they were basically they changed the school, so we kind of had five small schools within the one school,
Mhm.
and one of the schools was the law school. So we had like a medical school, a law school, and fine arts were for like cosmetology. Then the law school included our criminal justice program as well. And I had a teacher, I had a class named Street Law was the name of the class, and my teacher was Lori Uragdi Eiler, and she was phenomenal. I remember we were the first class of the Summer Legal Academy at Case Western Reserve University during my senior year, the
Mhm.
summer before I went into my senior year, where we were a part of this legal program led by Case School of Law. And, we had panelists that were lawyers and judges. Rufus Sims, defense attorney Rufus Sims, Pinky Carr. I believe she's a judge now, but she was the prosecutor at the time. And there's all these great people would come, and we would do projects, and we would learn from them and shadow them every day. And I said to myself, this is what I wanted to do with my life. I want to be an attorney, which led me going to Case. But when I got there, there was like not a pre-law program in undergrad, and they basically said you can major in whatever you want to and still go to law school. So that's when I, decided to be an English major. But yeah, that's
Oh,
kind of where it started. And the English major gave me great tools to do write books and the curriculum and the things that I'm doing today. But
so do I have this right? Is law school separate from an actual degree program? Is that why you say you can major in anything and still go to law school?
so it's different in different colleges and universities. I believe like some, universities and colleges do have a pre-law program that you go through. Um, and then you go straight to law school, or at least something you can minor in, but it wasn't like that. And they told us like you can basically major in whatever you want to major in. You don't even have to decide your major the first year. But I did because I just didn't want to like waste time or take class I didn't need to take. And I did take some like political science and some law classes, but it just was not like a major or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, every school is different, but I know like there and at that time, because I graduated in 2010. So when I started in 2006, at that time, there was, it was like you can major whenever as long as you have like, a good GPA, then, and take like the entrance exams for the law school, then you could go. So,
Okay,
but then
gotcha.
I had so much, I was at the end of those 4 years, I was like, I'm never going to school again.
Little did you know.
Right, right.
So I think I saw, like I said earlier, I did a little research on you, and I saw on your website, which I think now is a perfect time for you to do a plug-in. What is your website, Dr. Bailey?
Yes, you can find information on myself, the Literacy Club with Dr. Bailey, Saving Our Students, the whole movement on drdonishabailey.com. DrDonishaBailey.com. And there's information there. There's a link to my first book. So I have it right here, Saving Our Students, A Collaborative Approach to Intervention. This
Oh,
is my first
perfect.
book. This came out, I want to say, in September, and I just received my letter from the Library of Congress a few days ago. So that was like really
Oh,
exciting.
congrats.
I have it on my refrigerator. I have to put it in the frame.
Of
So
course.
yeah, you can get this on my website. It's also available on Amazon. But this book, you can get it digitally on Amazon, or you can go straight to my website, and I will send it personally to you. Or
Oh,
my
thank
second,
you.
but my second book is also part of the Saving Our Students movement. So it looks like that book, but it's blue. It's called S.O.S. Saving Our Students: Parents Guide to online instruction and home intervention. So it is a shorter text and it's digital only. So if you go to drdonishabailey.com, you can buy it for $12.99, which is half the price of the first book. And I wanted to make it's for parents, so it's more parent friendly. It's half the cost, and it just takes parents through some things that they need to know regarding reading and math and just working at home with their students to maximize their education, even though we're online and we can't be in school, face to face right now.
And so it's really a tool or a workbook for parents. And can you walk us through that? So what type of activities are in there? What can they find when they purchase this book?
Right. So this one is less, it's not a workbook. The workbook for the kids is the next book I'll tell you about for the Literacy Club with Dr. Bailey. But this is more of a guide. It's just a guide, and it talks about knowing your child's reading level and using your human resources like your teachers and your intervention specialists, not being afraid to ask questions and take notes when you're talking to your child's teacher, knowing when you go to the library what level books to get for your child, understanding, and I give them resources for digital tools for math interventions and reading interventions, and also understanding that students have social emotional needs as well. So not all of my students on my caseload I serve academically. Some I serve academically and behaviorally, some only behaviorally. And sometimes that social emotional piece gets lost and we forget about it, and we kind of focus just solely on the academics. But really and truly, if you have a behavior that impedes the way you learn, and it slows down the process of you learning because no one has taken care of the social emotional needs of the child, then they won't be as successful as they could be. So I kind of lay it out, and again, it's a guide, and I'm looking more toward, like, I don't know if I want to create a master class or something, but I want to give the parents more. I want to give them more, but I felt like this was important. I got to get this out here. And I wrote it probably within like less than a week because I was going to
Wow.
I was working on a literacy club first. I finished the first book, and then I was working on a literacy club, and then I had to stop, and I said, "No, we need this now. Parents need this now." So I wrote that, and then I went back to working on a literacy club.
Yeah, this is a perfect time for that to release. I can't believe you did that in less than a week. That means you are really passionate about it. And so, what advice do you have for parents right now that may be struggling with children in virtual learning?
Patience. You have to be patient, and you have to know when to take a break. Okay. Not only do your students need a break, or your kids need a break, but as parents, you need one too. So,
Yeah.
if you look for those signs. If you start to see your child become frustrated, it's okay to pause that Zoom video. I'm not saying abuse it. Have your open communication with your teachers, but it's okay to pause that Zoom video, walk away, you go take a deep breath, get a drink of water, let them go take a deep breath. There's nothing wrong with having a 2 to 5 minute break, regrouping, resetting, do whatever you need to do for you and your family, and then get back to it. Also, read every night for at least 20 minutes. So I talk about that in the book too. Whether the child is reading to you or you're reading to them, depending on the age and the abilities of the child, it is so important for their reading comprehension skills, their speaking and listening skills, their writing skills, just to have someone read to them or to read to someone a few art. Preschool or kindergarten sometimes are 3,000 words or more behind in their vocabulary because no one read to them when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important. So read, 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 be patient, take those breaks. And again, communicate with your child's educators. Do not be afraid to ask questions, take notes, ask them for resources. There are many libraries in your community. I know with COVID, things are, have changed, but some things are getting a little better. And I know that libraries are great resources in your communities. They may have free homework help or free programs. You just have to reach out, to your educators who will have more resources for you. And also, don't forget to reach out to your local libraries and other community resources because they're there. We just don't know how to get to them. Parents just don't know how to get to them. So that's another reason why the last chapter of the book is basically just a table of all these resources that they can use to practice with math and reading and social emotional skills with their students while they're at home.
I can imagine that would be the hardest as far as mathematics or math. I mean, when was the last time we as parents have done the math that kids are instructed to do?
Yeah.
And like you said, there are resources available, but I mean, it's just to me, I personally am not experiencing this, but I do have a best friend with 3 children. I think under the age of second grade, and all 3 of them are attending virtual school at home with her. So I think it helps to have them all together. Like you said, that social factor of it is really important. So I think it helps to have them attending together. But when it comes to math, I can imagine that would be difficult to do with your children not having to do it in so long. So what advice do you have as far as community resources? I know they can reach out to their teacher. Do you have any recommendations for other resources?
Um, yeah, so I just want to touch on one other thing that you just talked about. So even as a teacher, like we had to teach ourselves how specifically they wanting us to teach our students these math equations and concepts because we learned them differently. So as a teacher, now you have to retrain your brain because you have to teach in a different way. So good resources that I have online for parents that I highlight in the book are like Khan Academy. So Khan Academy, you can basically find almost any kind of math, any kind of curriculum, arithmetic, different kinds of equations, different levels of math um, on Khan Academy. And they will like give you videos that will walk you through it as a parent to help you teach your student or your kid, I should say. And then you always have YouTube is great. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just there's so many resources out there, but I can give more online resources because everyone isn't in my community. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if these resources will be available in different states and, different school districts, but definitely parents can go on Khan Academy. Like that is really parent friendly. YouTube. And then there was another one, Flocabulary. So they have good songs that helps students remember certain
Mm-hmm.
um, certain things, certain mnemonic devices that help students remember the things that they need to apply it back to the classroom to show those reading and math skills. So, research, research, research. We're always online on our phones, on social media. You know, close out that tab, open up a different one, and you will be surprised the amount of information that's out there. We just have to go get it. We just have to find it. So part of what I
Exactly.
do is I lay out, resources for reading, math, social emotional, and then resources that have both reading and math. So like Brain Pop, Brain Pop and Brain Pop Junior. So Brain Pop Junior is K through 3, and Brain Pop are for older students, middle school and high school. And those websites cost money, but if you talk to again your teachers, they have passcodes and things that they can give you so you can work on it at home. iReady is another good source to use online. That's math and reading resources, and it kind of gives you the levels of your child, and then it creates a learning path for them. And if the problems are too hard, it'll make it easier. If they're too easy, it'll make it harder. And then you can do progress monitoring. Like iReady is pretty amazing too. So all those codes and passwords that are needed for those programs, more than likely your child's teacher has them. And then the other ones that are free, like I talked about before, all the videos like vocabulary and everything else on YouTube, and then Khan Academy, that stuff is free. And
Spell
hey
that.
guys, KHAN, I want to say NN. Let me triple check that. Yeah, K is one N. So KHAN and then Academy.
Okay. Great. Thanks for all of the resources and websites. I'm going to definitely tell my friends to listen to this one. They'll need those resources, I'm sure. So, what has been the greatest challenge that you've encountered, not only as an intervention specialist, but just overall in the education industry?
Um, mm, Not being able to reach everyone, right? So I know as educators we say, as long as I can reach one student, then I'm great. No, that's not how I feel. I want to reach everyone.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell the truth. So it's hard when you know that this student doesn't come to school, that they have no control over it, and that they're not getting anything that they need because of a lack of attendance. Or it's hard when you have students who had perfect attendance in person when we were in person, and now because we're virtual, I've never seen them online. And then they're the students who they need it the most because they're struggling learners. So they're already behind, and now they're going to be even further behind because I definitely can't reach you if I can't see you and you can't log on, or you're with in a multi-generational home and your grandparents don't know how to work the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and then you are having issues with that as well. It's very difficult. So the hardest thing would be not being able to reach everyone like I would like to.
I understand that. I think that might be one of the biggest challenges in just the service industry. I feel the same way in human resources. I'm like, God, I wish I could just help everybody. I don't want to just help one person. I'm the same way. I totally understand. So I read in the Save Our Students movement on your website, in quotes, when educators who work in inclusive settings collaborate effectively with one another, they are able to deliver high quality instruction to increase student achievement, end quote. So since the pandemic, a lot of students are learning virtually. What are some ways that educators can continue to deliver high quality instruction to those that are working from home?
Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. So, a big part of the first book is, a collaborative approach to intervention. So you have your inclusive classrooms, which are educating students with and without learning disabilities. So that means you have the general education teacher, and in most aspects, you have the intervention specialist. So, well, in every aspect, you have the intervention specialist because that's the person who services the students with special needs. However, depending on the school and the district, you have different co-teaching strategies. So I've been in a predicament where I directly am co-teaching with the general education teacher. We are, breaking into small groups. We're doing tri rotations. And then I've been the intervention specialist where I just, excuse me, sit in the classroom for a few minutes to see what they're learning. And then I pull the student out to a resource room to work on their specific goals and objectives. So being on one accord and collaborating is the most important thing when you are working to increase student achievement, especially when we are virtual, because you have teachers who have different strengths, right? So the
Hmm.
novice teachers may have more technological abilities than your veteran teachers, and then your veteran teachers may know more about certain instructional strategies that can help the other person's, teaching abilities, so or pedagogy. So it's really awesome to be able to learn from one another. And in order to do that, you have to collaborate. So a lot of times, schools have these teacher-based team meetings and collaboration meetings, but like, what are we doing? Like, are we really talking about specific students and how to move them? Some do, but some don't. And being able to have those honest conversations. Will this student struggled on this exit ticket today, but they were did really well in this on this part of class? Should we move them to a different small group? You have to have those honest conversations, those specific conversations about your students, so you really know how to help
Yeah,
them. It's not like a blanket. You really have to use, you have to have your data drive your instruction. So if we're teaching something for the day and the exit slip says that, the class didn't get it, you kind of have to look at yourself as the educator to find out how can I connect with them in a different way? Because if you just go back and teach it the same way, they're still not going to get it. And,
exactly.
collaborating with one another is definitely a way to achieve high quality instruction, and knowing what your students need. So it's about understanding your students and what they need, and then
Hmm.
collaborating with the other educational professionals around you. So occupational therapists, speech and language pathologists, educational assistants. We do not give our educational assistants the much, the love, respect, and pay that they deserve, because these one-on-one aides are with students more than anyone else. They're with them during lunch, during recess, during every class. They probably only have a 30-minute lunch a day, but they're
Yeah.
with that student all the time. So all of these people need to be a part of these staff meetings and professional development. And I feel like sometimes we're a little here and there, but I
Hmm.
feel like collectively, if we're all working with these students, then we all need to be collaborating together, not just me and the general education teachers, the related service teachers as well. Like, it literally takes a village to educate students, just like it does to raise one.
Exactly. Good point. So, what does the training curriculum or program look like for teachers that maybe don't necessarily have experience in inclusive environments? What does that look like?
So the thing is, we go to school, right? We go to our teacher preparation program, and they teach you how to be a teacher. But really, there's not a lot in there about collaboration. So a lot of what I talk about is professional development. So getting your degree is, like, to me, halfway there. Now, actually being
Hmm.
in the career and working, and the professional development on top of that, that's what develops people and molds them into great educational professionals. It's the experience. College is great. You guys know I love school. You know, I just graduated again a couple of weeks ago. Like, college is great. We need that. The ones who
Hmm.
choose to do that. But even after that, it's about the experience you get in that field, and it's about the professional development.
What kinds of professional development do you suggest that educators participate in?
So,
Extracurricular professional development.
yeah, so understanding, like, inclusive classroom environment, understanding different co-teaching models, understanding how to analyze data, and again, collaborate. I feel like when it comes to collaboration, it just shouldn't be one professional development. It should be like a series of professional developments on how to collaborate, a series of professional developments on understanding how to respond to intervention. So that's when you have students you have like tier one, so it's universal, what you do for all students. And then tier two are your more at risk students. And if you put some of these interventions and things in place, sometimes they get back on track and sometimes they have to go to tier three and then they may need special education services. So a lot of times people get confused, but that's the general education teacher who has to look and see and do these interventions. So
Okay.
a series on interventions, on modifications and accommodations, like really understanding how to modify the curriculum or accommodate the curriculum because everyone doesn't learn the same. So yeah, it's a lot, that we can be professionally developed on, but I just feel like we shouldn't just touch on this and touch on that. There should be like a series of trainings. Okay, once we get that, then we can move on to the next series of trainings. But I feel like experience and professional development, but collaboration, like really understanding what inclusive classroom settings are, collaborating, understanding how to collaborate, how to analyze data, and then how to really modify and accommodate the curriculum so that you're differentiating it for students of all different learning abilities.
I had a conversation recently with my husband about this. I heard a podcast where they were talking about diversity and inclusion, and we in human resources partner closely with diversity and inclusion. And because of the events last year with George Floyd, you will see more people participating in diversity and inclusion programs within their company. And it's just more at the forefront now. And we're talking about how people throw around D&I like it's, like it's a new trend without really understanding what it means. And in this podcast, they were talking about, and it was Dare to Leave by Dr. Brene Brown. She had a guest on, Kevin Oakes. He has a research company that he founded for human resources. And he talked about how you can have diversity in your company without having inclusion. And it's important to understand what inclusion means, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, yeah, my team is very diverse. We don't see color, like or disability. We accommodate all sorts of needs, and we don't look at that. But it's also about making sure that people feel included and that they're a part of the team. And so even if you are different, do I still feel welcome, and do I still feel like I'm a part of this mission? So I say all that because when you said inclusion, or when I saw that on your website, I wondered, in the education industry, how does that tie to classrooms, and now with virtual learning, ensuring that there is inclusion and teachers understand the importance of that?
So inclusion, is very important now more than ever. Um, a lot, again, back to the trainings. A lot of teachers don't understand how to, um, meet the needs of all students or how to include them in the lesson. I don't think that they're doing it on purpose, but it's happening. And, um, you just can't, for example, I'll give you an example. Teachers are evaluated once or twice a year, depending on, the school district, the school, how many years you've been with the district. But you do have to be evaluated. And some teachers will want to use the gifted class or the regular ed class to teach, when part of the 7 things that we are evaluated on is differentiation. They never want to teach the class with special education students because they're afraid that student might not get that answer right that they asked them. But it's not about that. It's about, how do you respond to them not knowing the answer? How do you differentiate and shift your lesson? How do you show your true abilities as an educator? You can, if you just always want to show what you can do with these kids. I just learned in a meeting the other day, and I hope I don't get this wrong. I know it's 40 and 60. 40% of students are going to learn how to read no matter what. They're basically going to learn how to read on their own no matter what. We're learning about the science of reading in my school district. And I just feel like I just feel like that's another way of like not using inclusion, because the class that has inclusion, you don't want to, you kind of want to use the homeroom who has no special education students in it or who has the gifted students in it, and I just feel
Mhm.
like that's funny. As an intervention specialist, I only use, the students who I work with. I work with all students, but specifically, I work with the students with special needs. So, and then also teachers get really frustrated. Like they have to repeat things a lot. Well, guess what? When you're dealing with students with special needs, that's what you're going to have to do.
Right.
And you should get, a little more patient or whatever. But virtual
Mhm.
learning has really showed a lot of true colors, because you can see, hear, and feel the frustration. But guess what? Now you have a parent right here behind you and they just heard you too. So
Mhm.
it's just
Mhm.
like, I know it's difficult for everyone, but we have to realize when, all right, maybe I should um try this challenging thing. Maybe I should get evaluated so that they can see how I do respond, because it's great work being done. But I feel like when we're being evaluated, people kind of get scared and they feel like the lesson has to be perfect, but it's not about that. It's about show how awesome you are every single day. Don't like, I don't know. So,
Mhm.
but making sure that when you're asking these questions, it's okay to pick on a student who doesn't know the answer. Help them think through.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
part of the learning experience. Scaffold the lesson, walk them through it, guide them through it, and let them have that moment of learning. So,
And that's what being a teacher is all about. Kids aren't going to know everything, and you have to help them with critical thinking. And I'm not in the education industry, but having children, just when I help them with their homework, that's something that I think is going to help them in the long run, is to be able to critically think through things and not to give them all the answers, but just help guide through whatever it is that they're, going through to get to the end result or the answer. And so in a classroom setting, I guess there could be different dynamics there, but you hit the nail on the head there. So I know that you are the founder of a literacy club, and you help low income families with writing. And can you tell us more about that organization? I think it's such a great way to give back to the community. And I want to learn more about it. It's a nonprofit organization, right?
yes. So, the Literacy Club with Dr. Bailey, TLC with Dr. B for short, is basically a 10-week program that focuses on writing, speaking, and listening skills. And it is for students who are in low income neighborhoods or Title I school districts. And basically, what happens is we lose funding, and then like tutoring services and things like that leave our community, it leaves our school. But the need that the students have are still there. Okay. And then a lot of times when we do have these resources, they focus on reading comprehension, which is great. But another aspect of that is writing, speaking and listening skills. So, a lot of times a student can give you an answer about what they just read, but can they truly express themselves? Can they, elaborate or dig deeper? So, having them talk through it through speaking and listening skills, and then, and, discussion, and then having them write about it and perfect that writing and work on
Mm-hmm.
their grammar, especially in the age of texting and social media. Like, no, we need to use proper grammar, the correct version of no and there. Like that's lacking. And we have so much to teach and so little time. So it kind of, a lot of times that stuff gets pushed by the wayside. One of the teachers I work with right now, she's phenomenal. Holly Rogers. She, I've been working with her for 3 years. She's one of the teachers that I work with, and she embeds speaking and listening in every single lesson. Um, and I just was like, wow, that's amazing, because those are standards. We have,
Mm-hmm.
standards in Ohio, and I know the Common Core standards that 42, I want to say 42 of our states at least have adopted. Um, Part of those standards are speaking and listening skills. And then writing as well, but I just feel like that gets pushed by the wayside, and our students
Yeah.
are not as great of writers as they could be. So it's a 10-week program. We focus on the purpose of writing for week one. Week two is organizing your writing. Week three, we go on to essay writing. Week four is short stories. Weeks 5 and 6 are poetry. Then we have autobiographical and biographical essays. I
Hmm.
introduced them to different musical genres, and we're even going to do some fun things with that because I've done a little music before.
I love
Uh,
it.
and then we wrap it up the last 2 weeks, getting the portfolio in order and perfecting and editing everything so that when they leave the program, they have a writing portfolio. They have different short stories they've written, different poems they've written, different essays they've written, and they have this they can take with them that they'll have forever. So, where I want the Literacy Club to go is I want Apple, Google, someone to partner with me. And when they
Yeah.
leave, I want them to have a piece of technology because the digital divide is something else that is very real too. So
Hmm.
I want them to have an iPad or a Chromebook when they leave, so that they can have that. Even if they have it now because their school provided it to them, they have to give it back in the summer. What are they going to
Right.
do then? And the
Mhm.
libraries, because of COVID, have been closed. So, like, there is a real digital divide that exists, and you can see it now more than ever. And I want, like,
Mhm.
part of that. I want them to leave with a portfolio and a piece of technology. So that's what I'm working on now. And originally it's grades 3 through 5, but I'm currently differentiating it so that I have a K2 curriculum, 6, 8, and then a 9, 12 for high school as well.
Okay.
So that's what I'm working on now. The plan is to get the Literacy Club up and running mid-March of this year. We'll see how that goes. Definitely summer, just waiting on paperwork and everything. But pretty much we're set to go, and the curriculum is finalized. And I'm just working on teacher manuals and then the other grades so that I can reach other people. And then eventually, I'm trying to turn it into an app. So I'm working with my web developers and my
Oh,
publishers.
awesome.
And if I can get it into an app, then I can like reach people all over the world. I will be doing 8 students every 10 weeks. So I'll have, eight
Wow.
students, grades 3 through 5. It'll just be me. We'll meet three times a week. I'm working on the time now, but it'll probably be like after school for 2 hours. And it'll
Hmm.
be virtual right now. Eventually I'm gonna get a space, but with COVID, like we're not even in the school building. So it's going to be virtual for now. So it'll be 8 students every 10 weeks. Then we'll have like a week or two off, and then I'll have my next group of students. But the reason why I'm making a teacher manual is because if I do get people who want to join the force and join the Saving Our Students movement, I'll have a teacher's manual to walk them through it. And then when it expands to the app, then I mean, sky's the limit from there because it can reach teachers and students, all over the globe. So right now it's just me, but we'll see where it grows and develops into.
Superwoman. I should title this Wonder Woman. All right, so we are going to get into our rapid questions, our fire drill questions. So we've heard quite a bit about what projects you have going on and how you're giving back to the community. You're doing some amazing work. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing to give back. It's going to absolutely leave a lasting impact. But now is the time for us to get to know you a little bit better. Donisha, not Dr. Bailey, but Donisha.
Okay.
So tell us something about you that nobody knows or would be surprised to find out.
Um, I went into labor at my very last class, my residency. So
Oh
before
no.
getting my doctorate, my very last class, I went into labor, and my professor was like, "Get off of this computer and go to the hospital." But I'm like, "I can't fail." She's like, "You're not gonna fail. Go." So yeah, I went into
Oh
labor.
my gosh.
Yeah, finishing my
Girl.
doctorate.
Oh, you were determined to get that finished. I hear you. If you could be anything in this world, what would you do?
I would own a school.
Okay.
I would own a school, and my daughter, my mom, my close, people, my circle, they
Hmm.
would help me build that. And yeah, I
I
would
could
I would
absolutely
definitely
see
open a
that.
school.
Yeah. if you had a week to do absolutely anything you wanted to do, what would your week look like?
Travel, travel, travel. I would travel the world, but I wouldn't just travel the world. Like I would look at different schools and education systems and just see how diverse, the world is actually being there physically inside the classroom and just
Mm-hmm.
absorbing it all. But I would take my baby girl with me, my mom, my grandma, my close knit. I would call them my quarantine crew. But I would take
Yeah.
the people that I'm with all the time with me, and we would just travel the world. But I will also have to sneak in, going to look at their schools too.
You are truly a teacher. Every answer you have, every discussion surrounds around education. I love it. So now we're going to switch gears here for a second. Have you ever sported an embarrassing fashion trend growing up? You may not have, but if you did, what was it?
I think the bell bottoms. Now I know they're
Yeah,
coming
those are
back for
coming
some
back.
people. I just can't.
They're coming back. Yeah.
They're coming back, but yeah, bell bottoms. And I used to think I was a Spice Girl, so I was Scary Spice in my mind. So I would have like the two knots and then the curly
I
hair.
love
Like,
it.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. So I used to pretend I was like one of the Power Rangers when I was younger, and then yeah, it was one of the Spice Girls. It was I think Victoria Beckham that I
Hot
thought.
Spice. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And I
So
was the
what?
Yellow Ranger. Yeah.
I was too. I was the yellow one because I didn't want to be the pink one and
Right.
like all the girls. I wanted to be different.
Right.
I guess I wasn't so different. That's so funny. Uh, what inspires you?
My mom, my daughter, my grandmother. My mother and my grandmother, they inspire me to do great things because, growing up, they just always expected great things from me. And
Mhm.
that's just kind of what I was used to. Um, I just always wanted to please them because they were always so awesome to me. And then now that I'm a mom, it's just like I just want to give her the world. So like everything that I do now, like everything that I used to do would be to like so my mom, my grandma could be proud of me, right? And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
still feel that, but now it's deeper because now I have a little person, a little me looking at everything that I do, and now I just want her to be proud of me, and I just want to build this life where she'll just, I just want
Yeah.
her to enjoy life, and I want to give her everything, in the
Aw,
world that I can. So they definitely inspire me, the people closest to me.
that's great. Yeah, I'm there with you too. I live for my girls. Everything I do is for them. So I completely understand that. Um, so this is just something I thought of. Are you a coffee or a tea person?
I'm both, but I'm more of a coffee girl. Cappuccino.
Okay, cappuccino. I like that. So if you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I've always wanted to go to Jamaica. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go and sit on the beach and just enjoy the culture. So yeah, Jamaica.
What piece of advice would you give your daughter?
Just always fight. Um, if you have your eyes set on something, never, ever, ever give up. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Don't let anyone make you feel like you can't do it. Just always fight to achieve whatever goal in life that you want to achieve because the difference between having a dream and living that dream is what you do in between.
Mhm.
And if you are dedicated to whatever you want to do in life, sky is the limit.
Great piece of advice. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I personally have learned a lot, just around teaching and just in these times during the pandemic. I know education has changed quite a bit, and so I know my listeners are going to learn some tidbits of information too that will be useful. So thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you
Blessings to
so much.
you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.